during the times of the Soviet Union, absolutely every aspect of life was controlled by the government. This includes the sport, football teams. If you're a football fan, I'm sure you know the names: Lokomotiv Moscow, Dynamo Kyiv, CSKA Moscow. Did you know that all of these teams were branches of the government back in the day? So that is why there is a Dynamo Kyiv, Dynamo Moscow, Dynamo Tbilisi in Georgia, Dynamo Minsk in Belarus, and all of them use more or less the same logo. The Dynamo teams were part of the KGB. They were the KGB's team, and the old KGB headquarters here in Kiev is actually not too far away from where we are now, and there's a reason for that. We are in front of the old stadium of Dynamo Kyiv. Currently the team plays in the much bigger Olympic stadium, which is that direction somewhere. And I just coincidentally happened to stumble across this place as I was heading to the Olympic stadium, so that was actually pretty nice. I've just been inside. Actually, I entered in the wrong direction and I was met by a grumpy security guard who was more than happy to show me the stadium for 50 grivna, which is about 2 euros. Okay, no big deal. But yeah, it was really nice to enter, and it was really interesting, especially me being a huge football fan. You know, I've always wanted to come and see this team or something about this team because everybody knows about it, yeah? Some of the other teams that have sister clubs, let's say, would be Lokomotiv Moscow and Lokomotiv Kyiv, CSKA Sofia in Bulgaria, and the famous CSKA Moscow in Germany, in Russia, which was actually the team of the military, which kind of explains why their logo is a little bit like a military logo. Pause. Right, okay, so before we get looking at the stadium, I want to elaborate on this topic just a little bit more. I also need to point out that I was actually kind of wrong. So CSKA Sofia is the team of the armed forces, however they do not have a connection with those big boys in Russia. And the name CSKA that they both share is simply just an abbreviation of Central Sports Club of the Army. However, there were plenty of other teams that were managed by trade unions and different areas of the government. From what I can see, the biggest was the Dynamo Sports Group. There are a lot more Dynamo teams around Europe that I didn't mention before, and in fact, not all of them are actually football teams. The International Dynamo Sports Society is still operational to this day, but I'm not sure to what extent exactly the clubs remain connected. As I said before, this was the team of the KGB, the brutal and infamous secret police, so I guess there's no questioning why all of the Dynamo teams have been so successful in their respective countries. But don't worry, not all of the teams were operated by soldiers and evil secret agents. I mentioned before the two locomotive teams. They were operated by the Railway Workers Union. We also have Shakhtar from Ukraine, which was the miners team, and the famous team Zenit St. Petersburg has its history with the Leningrad machinery factory, where everything from planes to weapons have been made over the years. Another group with connections all around the ex-Soviet Union was the Spartak Sports Society, which was the first trade union sports society to appear. It was actually made up of several unions, being the team of workers across a wide selection of industries and not just one. Spartak Moscow is still today one of the most popular and successful teams in the country. Anyway, that's enough history, and it's time to check out this stadium, no? So, like I said, I've already been inside the stadium, but I'll show you what went on in there. It's really nice, actually. Everything is themed in Dynamo style, obviously, being a football club. Whereas I think in the Olympic Stadium, it is more of a generic sports complex. So we'll go and check that out in a minute, but first of all, I'll show you what's inside here. Front here, and I wanted to enter the stadium, and I made a new friend here who wanted he wanted a little bit of help for me to come inside the stadium and have a look. But here we are inside the famous stadium. The name of the stadium? Wood? No. Stadium. Name of stadium?
Да.
Even though they are trying to remove all signs of communism here in Kiev, just outside of the stadium, to the right of the entrance of the stadium, there's this old Soviet football statue to commemorate, surely, the incredible players who were surely the best in the Union at the time. In fact, the Dynamo Kyiv team and the Dynamo Moscow teams were among the most successful during the Soviet League times. You may notice I've changed my beanie. This is the beanie that I've been using normally on the trip. I have been warned by several people, I don't know, let me know in the comments if this is true, but I've been warned by several people not to wear football colors outside, just in case, because people in this part of the world take that very seriously. And especially at night, I was warned, look, like, especially around the metro area and around the stadium for some reason, not to wear the colors, just so I don't provoke any, I guess, any unwanted attention, attract any unwanted attention. But as I was explaining before, this here, currently, is the building of the Ukrainian government. I'm filming from a distance, just in case I get told off, because down the bottom there's some security guards, and they probably won't be too happy if I go down there and start filming. But this building here, which is the current home of the Ukrainian government, was the former office of the KGB. So the stadium was built right here next to their office. Perhaps from the very top there you could even see the pitch. It's fascinating to think about, really. Onto the stadium, the Olympic Stadium.
1 hour later.
Well guys, we finally made it to the Kiev Olympic Stadium. It was actually a journey to get here. I had some issues at the metro where my phone wasn't working. I asked the old babushka in the ticket desk for help. She spoke no English, so I had to use Google Translate. And even though I'd already paid and gone downstairs and come back up to ask for help, she was telling me to pay again. And that's just not okay. I don't care if it costs only about 20 cents, 20 euro cents. It's the principle of the matter. So I caught an Uber, which was probably about 15 times more expensive, but at the end of the day, it only cost me probably 2 euros, so I can't really complain. So we've made it to the club, to the stadium, should I say. I'm not sure if it's open. There's a couple of lights on inside, but there's no one around. So I'm hoping we can get inside. I would like to buy a little souvenir while I'm here. And maybe if we're lucky, someone will teach us a little bit more about the club. So let's go inside and have a look. So there is a fella here, but unfortunately he couldn't tell me much about the history, not in English anyway. He said if you spoke Russian, yes, but in English, no. But anyway, that's okay. We can still have a look at the nice things. They got some of their statues, their trophies, should I say, here. And information up on the back, but not in English. Very impressive nonetheless. I have to admit, it's a pretty small store, but they've got everything here. I mean, I've been to quite a few official stores around Europe, especially around Spain, and they don't have such a wide range of keyrings, all different types of scarves with different patterns on it, Christmas hats, slides, absolutely everything here. It's really, really incredible, to be honest. I'm definitely gonna buy something. This enormous stadium is not only the home of Dynamo Kyiv and the Olympic Stadium, it's also the second biggest stadium in Eastern Europe. It is the ground where Liverpool won the Champions League, unfortunately, last season. And it also hosted some games of the 1980 Olympics here, well, not here in Russia, but here in the former Soviet Republic of Ukraine. So guys, that concludes our little Soviet football adventure. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you learned something. It was definitely fun for me to film this video. I love football, so everywhere I go, I like going to the stadiums. I like seeing the shops. I like everything about it. So for me, it's been a really, really good day. Tomorrow, I'm heading to Armenia. So this is my last video from Kiev. What else can I say? I'm not too sure about football in Armenia, so don't expect videos of football in Armenia. But I'm definitely looking forward to that journey. So, stay with me. Tomorrow we're going to Armenia. See you then.